Hello, and welcome to Relatively Crafty, a knitting podcast. I am your host, Christy. I come to you from the Denver area of Colorado, where I live with my husband, Ron, and our two daughters, Tatum, who is 13, and Delaney, who is 10, and our tuxedo kitty, Lilu, who is actually been very loving the past couple of days. I mean, she's still not sitting on anybody on purpose, but she's come and been, sitting really close to me. So I'm hoping that maybe she's kind of turned a corner now that all the family has left. Anyway, if you want to find me on Ravelry, I am Cristi-Lael, and on Instagram, I am Cristi-Lael without the dash. We also have a Relatively Crafty Podcast group where we have giveaways and knit-alongs and chatter and whatnot. We just wrapped up our autumn accoutrements KAL, and everybody who won a prize in last week's podcast did get a hold of me, so I will be getting those shipped out over the next couple of days. And then we are currently having our wonderful winter warm-up KAL, which is a KAL that it basically you're kind of challenged to knit two types of things. One is to knit anything, any pattern, any type of project, and not just knitting, but crochet as well. Knit or crochet anything with worsted weight or larger yarn. The second challenge, if you will, is to finish or start a blanket. It doesn't have to be a scrappy blanket. It can be any kind of blanket. It can be one that you started 8 years ago. Wait. We have a cat visitor. Can you say hi? Can you say hi, Lilu? Say hi. Oh, screeches. You guys should feel pretty honored. She normally doesn't come this close to me during podcast time. She's very interested in my glass head. She's going to try to stick her head inside my glass head. That would be bad. Anyway, what was I saying? Oh yes, so any blanket, knit or crochet, it could be something that you started years ago and you just really need to finish, or you can start a new one, and it can be out of any weight of yarn. For all the way from lace, although if you're going to make a lace blanket, my hat goes off to you, all the way up to super bulky. So yeah, those are the two things. And the KAL is going through the entirety of winter. So it started the first day of winter on December 21st, 20th, something like that, and will go until I think March 19th, which is the end of winter. And I will be giving out, as I am wont to do, an FO prize and a chatter prize, one for each of the threads. So don't feel like you have to finish something in order to win a prize, and the prizes will be chosen via random number generator because I cannot pick a favorite. Okay, I think that is all the administrative stuff, so let's go ahead and get into the knitting. I have some FOs to show you and some whips. And a little bit of stash, not nearly as much as last week, but some still. So, talking about FOs, I completely forgot to mention this last week in my my yearly wrap up for my knitting. I pointed out all the socks that I made and sweaters and hats and gloves and scarves and whatnot, but I forgot about my mini socks, and I'm pointing up because they are now hung right above my head. I will post a picture here of them. If you are new to the podcast, I tried to knit a mini representation of every sock that I made for 2017. Now, I made 61 pairs of socks in 2017, but some of them were duplicates. Like, for instance, I made my mom a pair of hippo for Easter socks. I also made myself a pair out of the leftovers. And then some of them were made out of scraps that I had. For example, the last pair of socks that I made this year, or last year rather, was out of Felici in the Toucan colorway, Knit Picks Felici, and I used up all of it, so I didn't have any left over to make a mini sock. So I didn't actually make 61 mini socks. Some have too many socks because the pair of socks didn't match. You know, so it just kind of, it's not an exact representation, but I'm really okay with that. What I've done is, and you can see it in the picture, of course, is there is twine on this beam that just kind of sticks out in the middle of the room, and in the ceiling, not in the middle of the room, but in the middle of the ceiling. And my uncle has, when he was here, Uncle put hooks in and wrapped the twine around so it would be nice and sturdy. And there are 7 sections. I grabbed a handful of the mini socks and put them up there to see how many fit in the section, and 8 fit. So 8 times 7 is 56. I ended up finishing up making 56 mini socks. And I'm okay with that. I know that it's not an exact representation, as I said, but I really feel like it looked really cute. I love the way it looks in my room. Yeah, I'm getting to the point where this is my favorite room in the house. And unfortunately, it's upstairs, so it's kind of weird to have people over and be like, come upstairs and look at the spare bedroom. That's where I want to hang out in. Anyway, so I did finish those. This past week I had to knit like 8, I think it ended up being 8 or 10 more last week after I podcast with you guys, and I did get those done. I did not enjoy knitting any of them. I really kind of burned out on the whole mini sock thing in October, and so the last 15 or 20 that I had to make it was a slog. It really was. I just did not enjoy them. But I am glad that I did it. I love the finished results. It's exactly what I was kind of envisioning in my head, and I feel like I've completed something good, so I'm happy with that. The next finished object, actually before I get into the next finished object, let me talk about this, because I wore this several podcasts ago, and I forgot to talk about it, and I was asked questions about it, so I wanted to make sure that I wore it today so that I could talk about it. So let me go ahead and do that. I am wearing the Dorflinger tee, and I don't remember who designed it, but I will put it down here with the title, or with the name of the design, because it's kind of a weird word, Dorflinger. It's kind of fun to say, though, Dorflinger. Anyway, this is the Dorflinger tee. It is a knit, not crochet. It does look kind of like crochet. I wore it to knit night once, and I got asked several times, is that a crochet? No, that's knit, isn't it? Lacy t-shirt, short sleeves, out of bulky weight yarn. And I had a decent amount of bulky out of this great Cascade Venzia. Yeah, Cascade Venzia. I had about 500 yards of it, and I love Venzia. It's one of my favorite commercial heavier weight yarns. They also have it in worsted, although I was just looking on my phone, and apparently the bulky has been discontinued. I don't know if the worsted has or not. But it's 70% wool and 30% silk, so it's got a nice sheen to it. It feels nice, and it's just fun to knit with. So anyway, I had 500 yards. I wanted to knit something, and I couldn't get a full sweater out of 500 yards. So I came across this pattern, and I thought, well, you know what, I could wear it over a long sleeve shirt, which is what I normally do. Now you'll notice I am wearing a tank top underneath, and that is because we are having unseasonably, cat's playing with a toy, unseasonably warm weather here in Colorado. And I'm not sure why, because the rest of the country is freezing. And we are like at almost 60 degrees in January. So I'm waiting for our winter to come back. I'm hoping it'll come back because I really like winter. I've been waiting all year for winter to come back. So anyway, we are supposed to have some rain today, so I thought, well, maybe I could get away with wearing this over a tank top, and it's very comfortable. So yes, the Dorflinger tee out of Cascade Venzia Bulky, and I knit this like in 2015, and it's a favorite of mine. It was quick, obviously. I think I knit it on size 10s. What did I? No, on an 11, on a US 11. So big needles, big yarn, big lace pattern, knit up like the wind. So anyway, I do highly recommend it. Oh, and the Dorflinger tee is by Mandy Moore, by the way. Not the singer or actress, but a designer. So let's get back to FOs. I finished another FO, long-lasting FO, that took me a lot longer than it should have, like the socks, mini socks. And if you follow me on Instagram, you've already seen this on Fred the Head. It's a good name for my head, right, Fred? Fred the Head. Anyway, this is the Treccia hat by Michelle Wong. It is a highly cabled hat, and I knit it out of Bijou Based Ranch in the Highlands Summit base, which is 50% yak down and 50% superfine merino. It's super soft and super lovely, and I am super excited about this FO. The one thing that I was saying last week when I was knitting it, the only problem that I've had, sorry, she's got a mouse that hangs from the door and she's pulling it, and it's on like a bungee, and so it shoots up and hits the ceiling. The one thing that I was saying last week is the one complaint that I have with the pattern is that it tells you to start off with a tubular cast on, and I guess I did it wrong. I hadn't done that technique before, but it's tighter. Although, you know, when I was watching somebody else's podcast the other day, and they were talking about a tubular cast on, or I think it was a tubular bind off, maybe? Regardless, they were saying that it's tighter than their regular cast on or bind off, and that's what I kind of discovered myself. It's not massively too tight. Oh, and I put a pom-pom on it, and it's one of the ones that comes off with a snap, so I can take it off and wash the hat and then put it back on. So you can see it's not too terribly tight, but it does not stretch. Like, it's very solid right there at the cast on, and I don't care for that very much. It feels a little bit like it's squeezy on my head, and I don't care for that, especially because the back of it is so almost beret-ish, a little bit, slightly too slouchy. But I think that I will still get a lot of wear out of it. It covers up my ears and my hearing aids without causing anything to squeal. Unfortunately, hearing aids still squeal. It's 2018 and they still squeal. It's been something that my mom dealt with for my entire life, squealing hearing aids. But this does not make them squeal, and that's important. And I'm sure that I will get a lot of use out of it. It, of course, does not match this Dorflinger tee at all, so I'm going to go ahead and take it off and hopefully not mess up my hair. I did braid it today, and I like it to look nice. But I did finish it. I do love it. I love cables. Cables are one of my favorite things about knitting. I will say that this is not a beginner cable pattern. This cable was rather involved and not intuitive in any way. I found that I really had to pay attention. I couldn't just... Do you guys remember my Rustique cardigan? The picture here that I finished in January of last year. That was a great cable because it was very intuitive. It was very easy to know where the cables were supposed to go. It's kind of followed the same pattern all the way up. This one does follow the same pattern all the way up, but it's like a weird pattern. It doesn't repeat regularly, if that makes sense. So I did really enjoy it. I loved knitting with the yarn, as I mentioned last week. I think it looks great with the like purpley gray pom-pom, and I think I'm going to get a lot of use out of it. But I don't think that I'll ever knit it again. So it's a great pattern, worth the money, but it's involved. So just know that ahead of time. Next, I have a hoe. It's gonna become a foe. I'm just letting you know right now. Oh, I'm a poet and don't know it. But my feet show it. They're Longfellows. So sorry. So sorry. You guys remember back in September or October, I started knitting Ellie of Skein-Deer Knits pattern, the pumpkin spice latte mittens, and I was super excited to knit them. I loved the picture. I loved what the FO looked like, and I decided, because Ellie is such an amazing colorwork knitter, that I would pick the yarn that she picked to knit the sample out of, which is Jamieson and Smith 2-ply jumper weight. And I did, and when it came, I expected it to be, you know, rustic. It's 100% wool, it's not superwash, but it's known to be good for knitting color work, and it is, it's beneficial to use it, and it comes in 50-gram, no, I think it comes in 25-gram balls, so it's perfect when you want to do a very intricate colorwork sweater, because you can, you know, get these small amounts for rather cheap. I think less than $3 for a 25-gram ball, and you can put in many colors because you're only spending a little bit for 25 grams, and that may be all that you need of that one color. So I do understand the benefit of the yarn. Plus, it's very grippy, being a natural wool, and therefore it kind of sticks to itself. So it's great if you need to steek. And that kind of thing. A lot of people who use these more rustic wools, you know, Lopies and, you know, Jamieson and Smith and stuff like that, they don't even bother sewing their steek, because it's like Velcro, and it just doesn't come apart. That all being said, there is a definite benefit to this yarn. However, I hated knitting with it. I really did, and I wonder if that makes me less of a knitter. Apparently, I am a special snowflake, and I need soft yarns. Soft yarns that feel good in my hands. I didn't think that I was that kind of a special snowflake, but I guess I am, because I really, really did not enjoy making these mittens. And I finished the first one. Isn't it cute? It's really adorable. It looks so good. It fits perfectly. Here's the inside. I had a little struggle picking up the thumb stitches, but it fits really well. It's a little bit snug right in here. I think my hand's just slightly too wide, but my middle finger is right there at the top, and there's plenty of room, and it's not uncomfortable. But it doesn't feel good to wear. I mean, besides the fact that it fits so nicely, it doesn't feel good. I blocked it. Now, I didn't use the unicorn wash, so I just used soak, but it's still rough, and I don't like it. So you guys are probably gonna hate me for this, but I really am not gonna knit the second glove. I am probably going to hang this on my wall and have it there as something pretty to look at, because it is very pretty to look at. I love the colors. And I'm going to pick different fingering weight yarn that that feels better to me, and I'm going to knit a different pair of mittens. I will come back to this pattern again sometime in the future, because I did like this pattern. It's very well written. Ellie does a great job in, you know, kind of keeping everything clear, and her charts are fantastic. And you do have to be able to knit from a chart, but her charts are fantastic, and you know, these are obviously good looking mittens. But I've kind of, like, I have a bad taste in my mouth for this pattern right now. So later on I will feel better about it, you know, in a year or two, and then I will probably knit these again. But for the mittens that I am going to wear for the winter, I am going to pick out something else and knit that. I think actually I'm going to knit the World's Simplest Mittens by Tin Can Knits, just so that I can have a pair quickly, and then pick out another color work for a later time. I have to admit that I love the look of color work, but I don't enjoy knitting it as much. There was a time when I felt very like I was in love with knitting color work, and I wanted to knit all the color work things, but it was about a 6-month period a couple of years ago, and I kind of just have never gotten that love back. So I do it, and I always enjoy the finished product, but I don't enjoy the knitting as much, which is why my fireweed socks that I showed you last week still aren't finished 4 years later. In fact, that is the sock that I was working on when I lost that love, so it's been 4 years. So yeah. Anyway, I wanted to show you guys that it was done. I am not keeping the yarn. I have, you know, 2 full balls of 25 grams and then a little bit left over from the first 2 balls for these. I will find a better home for them. But it did make a nice mitten to look at. So there's that. And that is my final FO. So let's go ahead and get into whips. I don't have a lot of whips, just 3 I think. One is a colorwork hat. This is a more enjoyable colorwork hat simply because the yarn is more enjoyable to work with, and it's done in small sections, and it's more intuitive, the color work, so I don't have to pay quite as close attention to the chart. But here it is so far. This is the Meadowcroft slouchy hat, and it doesn't look like I've gotten very far, but I actually have. So the yarn is Yarn Rehab, and it's in the Guatemalan tour bus set. It was a kit that came to knit this hat, and you get, I've talked about this before, but you get all these little, I don't know, maybe 20-gram worsted weight minis, and you put them together willy-nilly to make this colorwork hat. And you start by doing this like faux ribbing colorwork, and then you flip the hat inside out so that you're knitting on the wrong side, so that when the brim is flipped up, you have the color work. So this is actually all the hat that I've knit, which is, you know, a bit more, a third more. So this is the brim inside out, obviously, and then this is the first section done in 2 different colors, and then this is the second section done in 2 completely different colors, and then the third section is going to be done in more different colors. I think I'm supposed to do it in this, and this, although I'm not sure. It does not say in the pattern, which is kind of annoying. I have a picture, and I can post the picture of the hat here, but because it's colorwork and it's variegated yarn, which again, why you would do color work out of 2 variegated yarns so you don't really get to see the color work as well, I don't know. It's a hat that a friend has asked me to knit for a gift for somebody else, so I'm doing it. I love the look of it, but I just don't quite understand the like theory behind it. Anyway, Yeah, you pick. So since it doesn't say in the pattern, and the pattern is written for this yarn in these kits. It doesn't say what the next one I'm supposed to pick. So I'm just looking at the picture and kind of guesstimating as best as I can. I don't know that anybody would be able to tell that I've picked the wrong color if I have. So anyway, I am working on this. I do, like a section, a chart every couple of nights, and then move on to the next one. I expect before too long, maybe another section or two, I need to start doing the decreases, and it should go faster. And I'm hoping that I don't run out of yarn, because that could be a problem. We'll see how it goes. And I am keeping that in my foppish ferret You So and So bag, which I haven't used in a while, and I was really glad to pull that off of the shelf and off of the wall, my wall of bags, and put it into use. Another whip that I have is one you guys actually haven't seen before. I did not include this in my socks that I'm going to knit in January that I showed you guys last week, but I have started this pair of socks. And the reason why I started this pair of socks instead of the ones that I showed you last week is that this is the oldest skein of sock yarn that I have in my stash. Now, if you recall, last year I knit my box of socks out of my oldest stripies, but there was a few that were still old that didn't get knit, and so I have this one from 2012, and then the Knitterly Things Vesper sock, which is going to be my January box of socks, is also from 2012. And I've gotten to the point now where almost all of my sock yarn is from like 2016 and before. So I'm really have managed to get through my old deep stash for sock yarn, at least. Now, sweater yarn, there's still a lot in there that's pretty old, but I wanted to go ahead and get these cast on. This is, unfortunately, another defunct company. This is Rainy Days and Woolly Dog's Goth Sock. I don't know if you guys remember Goth Sock. It was very popular in the swap threads on Ravelry back in 2011, 2012. Everybody wanted it. It was one of the first indie dyed stripies that I knew of, and it was a huge deal, and everybody grabbed it. Unfortunately, something happened, and she kind of had personal issues. The dyer, I don't know who she was personally, but she had issues and just kind of had to close her doors quickly. There was quite a hubbub about it. A lot of people were upset, but I did have this one skein left in my stash, and it is in the Suppa Green colorway. I love when it's two tones of the same color striped. I just absolutely love that look, and so I'm knitting it up into a pair of socks. And that is in my Erin Lane's Doctor Who sheeple bag. And then my last whip is in a single strand pumpkin bag that I had housed my pumpkin spice latte mitts. And I'm kind of knitting this in this bag at this time, because this is a reward for finishing that first mitt. And I'm knitting it out of the softest yarn that I have in my stash probably right now, and that is Shibui in the Staccato, which is a fingering wool and silk blend, and then their mohair. So I'm holding it double. I've got the skein of mohair there, and then the staccato there, and it's super soft. And I am making a round head in a square hat by El Steffo. It is kind of like the kitty cat hats, so it's knit kind of in a square. Instead of doing decreases, you just Kitchener the top together, and then it kind of produces kitty ears, and I'm excited about it. So it's got a little bit of a halo, not as much of a halo as I was expecting, because the mohair skein is so fuzzy, But it does have a little bit of a halo, and I think it's going to look really cute when it's done. And it's super soft, as I said. So much better than the Jameson. And I did make a super duper huge mistake, and I warn you against doing the same. In an effort to be more productive, I guess, I wound the mohair and the staccato together. Don't do that. What ends up happening is you get that. Can you guys see that? That is just a bunch of mohair that's all kinked up and together. Hopefully it's not a knot. I haven't come across a knot yet, but I am afraid of that happening. And if that does happen, I will have to cut the mohair, which is a minor annoyance, but still. So I started this the other day, and I expect I should finish it pretty quickly. I'm knitting it on, I think the brim, the ribbing was done on a 1.5, and the main hat body is done on a 2. It's just very, very, very plain. In fact, I think it's a free pattern. You just, you know, knit a square. So that is what I am working on with that. And because it's now a kitty cat hat, I will not be using my pretty orange pom-pom. I'll have to find something else to put this on. I'm sure that I will not have a hard time finding something else to put that on. And then I didn't get it cast on, but I have wound my Knitterly Things Vesper sock in lovely Lollipop Sky. So I will be casting this on here pretty soon. I think probably when I finish that mohair hat. I'm kind of not feeling socks as much right now. I think because I knit so many during December. I knit 5 pairs in December. I'm kind of burned out a little bit. I only really have to get 1 pair done this month. Maybe 2. I think I have to get the Lolo Did It done as well. So 2 pairs of socks done this month. I still have enough time. So yeah. Alright, well that is all of the whips. So I guess I'll go ahead and get into yarn haul. I got my final Rainbow of the Month Club sock skein. If you recall, I did Knitterly Things Vesper sock Rainbow of the Month Club last year, and it was awesome. I got some great, great yarns. In fact, you'll see some of them because they're going to be knit up this year for my box of socks. And I was really hoping that this last skein was going to be a Christmas colorway, considering it was coming out in December. It's not really. I don't think I could swing it for Christmas. It is the Fireside Hearth Song colorway. It's a pretty colorway, don't get me wrong, and it came with a 20-gram mini, which I think was just a thanks for doing the whole year type of a gift from Julia Vesper, and so anyway, so I can't use this for my Christmas socks, but you know what? It's a perfect colorway for Ron. I am not a fan of black. I don't wear any black at all, so I would not be using this 20-gram mini for my own socks, but Ron wears black, and this has got a lot of good Ron colors in it. He's a big fan of the 40s, and so there's a lot of 40s colors in here. You know, lime and mustard and that kind of thing. And so I am going to use this to make a pair of socks for Ron. So that is what I will do with it. And he will like that. I don't have very many yarns in my stash for Ron. And since he has decided that he likes hand knit socks, I'm going to have to knit them more often. I got something that still can't be used for Christmas, but it is definitely more in a Christi color. I picked up my first skein of Fiber Nymph Dye Works, and I love her, I think what do they call them? Inversibles, I believe. Yeah, it's an inversible set. This is out of her Bounce base, which is a 80-20 merino blend, and the idea is that you have 2 50-gram skeins and One is mostly yellow with orange stripes, and the other one is mostly orange with yellow stripes, and I absolutely love that idea. Definitely want to get my hands on more of these inversibles. But I got these, and I'm excited to knit with them this year. Definitely need to knit these up, maybe in spring. Be a good time for bright orange and yellow socks, right? Then next I have 3 bags to show you guys, and they were 3 bags that I wasn't planning on having, but I am so grateful to have them. One is, I missed the past 3 weeks of knit night because my family was here, and when I showed up last night, which was awesome, it was so nice to get back, one of my friends there dropped this in front of me and said Merry Christmas. So it's out of knitted fabric. I don't know if you can see that, but it's like the fabric is printed to look like knitting, and cables, and it's totally awesome. It's just a little like a shawl-sized bag made by my friend Beverly, and it's got this great inside fabric, kind of a green, like leafy, little tiny leaves, and there's a pocket, and it's got a zipper. Yeah, I really, really love it. I will have to put it to good use. She also made some cocoa almonds and salted almonds as well, and I haven't broken into those yet, but I'm looking forward to it. And then I was contacted by Frida, who is Smoky Mountain Laurel on Ravelry, and she asked if it would be okay to donate a bag for a prize. Well, of course I wasn't going to say no to that. I love having prizes to give away, and she sent me 2 bags. One is for me, which was awesome, and one is a prize for actually, I think I'm going to use it for the Wonderful Winter Warm-Up KAL. Now, Frida does not have a shop, but after seeing her bags, I encouraged her very highly to open up a shop, because these are beautiful, so well made, and I think that she would be able to sell them very easily on Etsy. So these are the 2 bags that she sent. This one is mine. It is a Route 66 bag. It has a cute little pine cone zipper pull that could double as a progress keeper, a nice handle, white on the inside with her label, handmade by Smoky Mountain Laurel, and it's just a good size for shawls, you know, for whatever. And Route 66 is a little bit near and dear to my heart, because you'll notice there's California. It goes through California, and San Bernardino is right there. That is probably 15 minutes away from where I grew up. Not in San Bernardino, I was outside of San Bernardino, but that is probably the biggest city. When people here in real life don't know where the city I was born in is, if I say I was right by San Bernardino, they go, oh yeah. And if they don't know San Bernardino, then they always know LA, and we were like an hour inland from LA. But anyway, so I traveled parts of Route 66 growing up, and so yeah, it's just a cool little bag. And then the one that she made for a giveaway is this lovely Paris-themed fabric. It's got, you know, sparkly bits on it. It has this beautiful glass bead stitch marker, or progress keeper zipper pull. It is also white on the inside, but it is a good size. Like I said, shawl, socks, small sweater, you could fit a lot of things in here. And nice handle, and so I will include this with a skein of yarn for one of the giveaways for the Wonderful Winter Warm-Up KAL. So thank you so much, Frida. I really, really appreciate that. And seriously, open up a shop. Last night I was at knit night, as I said, and I was sitting next to my friend Sharon, who was knitting this beautiful shawl to go with her new coat. And I took a liking to the yarn, and so I asked her what it was, and she said, oh, it's Swan's Island yarn, and it's 40% off right now. So I went and looked, and I fell in love, and I've decided that I needed it. I wasn't going to buy any yarn. I'm trying to really be careful about how much yarn I buy, at least until, you know, I am fully gainfully employed. You have a paycheck. But Ron got me a gift card to the yarn shop for Christmas, and the yarn is 40% off, y'all. I mean, so it's an Aran weight. It's gorgeous. I can't wait to knit with it. I am going to make, well, let me show you the yarn first. So I have 10 skeins of this as the main body. As I said, this is Swan's Island yarn, which is handcrafted in Maine. It is an organic wool, eco wash. I think, you know what, I was just watching a podcast, a Swedish podcast. I will put it down here because I hadn't, it was just one of those ones that was suggested to me by YouTube, but she's a chemist, and she was talking about superwash, and she was saying, I want to say that she was saying that the chemicals that they use for superwash, to make yarn superwash, is really not a sustainable process. It's dangerous for the environment, and there needs to be a change because what they're using is bad for the environment. And she was saying that there are companies that do a more safe superwash technique, and I believe that she said that they would be certified eco-wash. So I didn't make the connection. But it says here, this 100% certified organic merino wool is gently treated with organic eco-wash, which enhances wool fibers to prevent felting. The resulting yarns are great to handle, soft to wear, and machine washable. Because the yarn is skein dyed in small lots, we suggest purchasing enough skeins for one project. So yeah, so it's superwash, but it's not gonna like kill the earth in being superwash, which is great. So as I said, I have 10 skeins in this color, which is graphite. And then I have 2 skeins in this beautiful, like robin's egg tonal blue, and it is verdigris. Beautiful. And then I have 1 single skein in this very Christy orange. This is pumpkin. And what I am going to make with it, I'm going to butcher this name. I am going to make the Skogofjal by Diana Walla. I do apologize if I butchered that. I will put it down here. Of course, there's a picture here. And it is a simple Aran weight sweater with a colorwork yoke with trees on it. I think it's going to look so cute. So the graphite is the main color, then the verdigris is going to be the first color for the trees, and then the pumpkin will be the color on top. And I am super excited about it. It's going to be great. It's beautiful. It's going to be a beautiful sweater. Super comfy and snuggy, and I'm super excited about it. So that is all of my yarn haul for this week. Not too bad, right? I mean, if I hadn't bought the sweater's quantity of yarn last night, then I wouldn't have had very much to show you at all. What can I say? I had a gift card. And I thought, you know, if I could use this gift card to buy a couple of skeins of sock yarn, which was what my original intention was. But you know what? The fact of the matter is that I have a lot of sock yarn. I don't really need any more sock yarn. I do, however, need more sweaters. And since I had a pattern that I was excited about, it worked out. I feel like it was money well spent. And it was on 40% off sale. So, last year, I did a lot of knit-alongs. Most of them were sock knit-alongs. There was a lot of podcasters that I was watching at the time, that I still watch, that did year-long sock knit-alongs. Kristen of Mullenvine did her box of socks. The Grocery Girls did their sock bash. Michelle and Leslie of Naughty Knitwits did their yearly socket KAL, and then Amber of the Yarn Hoarder podcast did her Free the House Elves sock KAL, and also I did Desert Vista Dye Works, the 3rd annual Sock of the Month KAL. I did Lolo Did It's, Hippo for the Holidays sock KAL, and then there were a few couple of month sock KALs that were thrown in. Sarah, the Canadian knitter, did one, did her winter camp at the beginning of the year. Tiffany and Erin of the Knitting at Tiffany's with Added Bling podcast did their stripy sock KAL at the beginning of the year. I think that, there was a couple other ones that I can't think of off the top of my head. I'm surprised that I had all of those in my head, honestly. But there was a lot of KALs, and I did some sweater KALs, I did some other KALs. I am kind of cutting down the amount of KALs that I am doing this year. Thankfully, some of the podcasters aren't renewing their yearly KALs, so that is making things a little bit easier. But I've dropped Desert Vista Dye Works for this year. I'm not doing the Lolo Did It quite as intensely as I was last year. And, while I'm still going to be knitting socks, I'm not going to put as much pressure on me. But Erin of the Knitting with Tiffany with Added Bling podcast, who makes socks makes bags and dyes yarn for Bling Your String. In her group, she is doing a crafty bingo, and I just couldn't pass it up. I did make it easy on me, I will admit. Most of the things in here were things that I was already planning on knitting or doing, and were things that I already, I know I can get done in a year. But it's basically a bingo card, and you come up with 25 different, 24, because the center is this free space, 24 different challenges for yourself. So I just wanted to kind of go over that really quickly with you guys. If you're just here for the knitting and yarn, I'm pretty much done. I'm going to talk about my my bingo challenges, and then I'm going to talk about books, and that will be the end of the podcast. So anyway, what I've got here are 24 things that that I want to get done in 2018. The first one is to complete the 2018 box of socks. Now, that I don't think is going to be an issue. That's one of the ones that I thought, that's going to be super duper easy to do, because I knit 60 pairs of socks last year. It will not, while I don't expect to knit as many this year, it's not going to be all that hard to make sure that I knit those 12, Next, I have finished the fireweed socks. So I have the first one done. Here's a picture. And I just have to knit the second one. And it's colorwork. This is the one that's been sitting as a UFO, an unfinished object, for 4 years. So it's time to get that done. Next, I have Make Mom the Shawl That She Wants. Last year, we went to a yarn shop in Woodland Park, I believe, and she found a skein of yarn that she liked and asked if I could make her a shawl to wear kind of as a cowl, because it, cold and wind, and she's going to need it here. And I knew I had plenty of time to make it. Well, when she was here for Christmas, she was like, have you started that yet? Have you thought about it? And I said, you don't live here yet. You live in Southern California. It's still like creeping up to 80 degrees in Southern California right now, so you don't have much need for a shawl. And she goes, yeah, but I'm going to need it when I get there. So I'm hoping to get that done. You know, they move here in the summer, and she's going to need it for next winter. Next, I have knit 6 Hippo for the Holidays projects. I have all of those leftovers that Mom wants into socks. I also have the new Hippo colorways that she's coming out with this year. So while as I said, I'm not putting myself through the pressure of having to knit all 12 Hippo for the Holidays, but I do want to knit at least 6. I don't think that's going to be a problem with, you know, the 9 colorways that I have left over, plus the new Hippo for New Year's. I can pull out 6. Plus, as I said, she's dyeing new Hippo for the Holidays colorways, and even if I don't participate in the KAL, I will be buying the yarn, because, doggone it, it's a set. I cannot pass up the set. Next, I have a sweater that I've wanted to knit for ages. It's one that, if you've ever gone and looked at my projects, there's a couple of ones at the top that say they're whips, but I haven't started them. And they're sweaters that I bought the yarn and the pattern specifically to make these, and I just haven't started them yet. One is the Athena sweater, which I will post here. And I will also post the yarn that I'm going to be using. It's a bulky Rowan yarn. It's the sweater was designed for this yarn, so it's a big open one, so I can wear it during the summer, and yeah, I'm excited about it. I just need to sit down and do it, and it's bulky weight yarn, so it should knit up very fast. I don't know why I haven't made it yet. There's actually a couple of things on here that are those kinds of things, ones that I've planned for ages and just haven't done, like knitting the Rainbow Dash socks. So I have this yarn, I'll post the picture here, and it's a main color and then you know, a main skein of this pretty Robin's Egg blue, and then minis in rainbows, and I want to make these socks with it, and so I just need to sit down and do it. I wanted to do it last year. I was super excited about it, but because of all the sock KALs that I was in, I never felt like I had time to do it, so definitely want to do it this year. Next is not a knitting project. It's actually a cross-stitch project. Years ago, before I started knitting, I was very into cross-stitch, and I started this, it's not a very big one, but it's a butterfly cross-stitch, and it's like a quilt. It's like butterflies coming out of a quilt, and I'll post a picture. And I am maybe a third, maybe a little bit more than a third of the way through, maybe even half a way through, and I just need to finish it. I would love to put it up. You know, I don't cross-stitch anymore, but I'd like to at least get this one finished. So that's on there. I'd like to knit each of my girls a hat. I have some yarn that would be good for that, and I just need to sit down and do it. That will be a very quick project. I want to knit Delaney a sweater out of this Knit Picks Capria, which I have had in stash for a long, long time, with the plan to knit Delaney kind of a stripy sweater out of it, and I just haven't done it. It's a DK weight yarn, and it is 85% merino, 15% cashmere, so it's lovely and soft, and it's in several different shades of blue and green and cream, and I just need to sit down and do it. The sweater that I knit her in, what, November? Really, it isn't cutting it. Tatum's sweater is perfect, and she wears it all the time. Delaney's is, I knit it too small, and it's kind of apparent. Like, she can tug on it, but it's really too small. So she needs a proper sweater, and she likes wearing my knitwear. So I really need to knit her proper things. So I need to just sit down and knit that sweater. I need to make my uncle 2 pairs of socks, and I need to make my Aunt Kathy 2 pairs of socks. Now, Uncle bought some yarn when he was here for his socks. Aunt Kathy has super small feet. Like, she wears an adult size 4.5, which is like a big kid size 3. She has just got the smallest feet ever, so I can definitely knit her a pair of socks and myself a pair of socks out of the same yarn. So I'm going to go ahead and just use my own stash. And so I just want to do that for her. She would just love to have some socks, and Uncle, of course, asked for them. Then I need to make the Boss sweater, and I'll post a picture here of it. And I have enough of this Art Yarns Regal Silk. It's 100% silk. It's, of course, the softest thing in the entire world, and I've had it earmarked. This is another one of those ones that has just been sitting as a project page for years now, and I just haven't done it. And this would be a great summer garment to wear, so I just need to sit down and make it. So that's that. Then I want to knit Ron 3 pairs of socks this year. This will be definitely one of them. I want to make my mom at least 5 pairs of socks. Now, my mom is the most sock knit-worthy person I know besides myself. She absolutely loves wearing my hand-knit socks, and I've made her several pairs over the years, but you know, they wear out, and some of the early pairs that I made didn't fit as well. You all know what it's like when you first begin sock knitting. You don't know how to make the socks fit as well. So some of them that I've made, she just can't wear anymore because they've worn out or they just don't fit. So I want to make her some more. I want to knit my 3 oldest sock skeins, and that is that Goth Socks in green. That's one of them. There is a Quare Fibers here and a Trailing Clouds skein here. Those are the 3 oldest sock skeins that I have in my stash at this point, and I want to get them knit up. Next, I want to complete a full diamond painting piece. You guys might have seen on Instagram I did this little fish with diamond painting. It's a very, very simple craft, and I have ordered a full piece. That one was only about that big. And I want to complete it over the year. Now, I'm not going to spend a lot of time doing diamond painting because I'm going to be knitting and working. And it's really, really simple. It's just, you know, like plastic rhinestone looking things that you put on sticky paper in kind of like paint by numbers, only you place these in by numbers instead. And they just make a kind of a pretty picture. So that's what I want to do. I also want to try some new to me indie dyers, which I've already kind of accomplished by buying the fiber nymphs. I hadn't knit with fiber nymphs before, but I also want to try out some other new indie dyers that I haven't tried before. And not only buy the yarns, but knit with them as well. Although if I only manage to buy them this year, I feel like that I've done that. I want to knit the Stitch Surfer socks, which look like these, and I have a skein of Biscotte yarns that looks like this, that is exactly for that pattern. And again, like with the Rainbow Dash socks, it's something that I've wanted to do all last year and just need to sit down and do it now. I want to at least start a crochet scrap blanket. I don't expect that I will finish one, but I want to at least get it started. And I don't know if I'm going to do the granny stripe blanket or the corner to corner blanket, but one of those I want to start and use up my minis that I have set aside for it. I want to knit at least 3 sock blanks. I have now, gosh, like 8 sock blanks in my stash, and I want to knit with them some more this year. Last year I knit 2 sock blanks, and I find that those 2, one was a Bling Your String sock blank and one was a Creative Obsession sock blank. I go for those socks right away whenever they're clean, they're two of my favorite pairs. They fit really nicely, they're very comfortable, and I love the way they look, so I really want to knit more sock blanks this year. Next is my Comfort Fade Cardi. You guys know that I've been excited about this for a long time, since it came out, and I've had the yarn picked out, and I've even had it wound and in its project bag with the pattern printed out, and I just haven't been able to get to swatching for it and getting it started, but I do definitely want to get that knitted this year. In fact, I do really want that to be the first sweater that I knit this year, so I really need to get on it. And then I want to knit the Snowflake sweater. This is another one of those that I have had a project page up forever. The sweater is gorgeous, as you can see, and I bought special yarn for it. I bought the Verdant Griffin Traveler DK in Madagascan Sunset Moth for the main body, and then Dirty Deeds Done with Sheep for the lace part in the yoke. It's just a beautiful, beautiful purple. And then this to go with it for the main body of the sweater. And every time I look at it, I'm like, oh, that's such a beautiful sweater, I need to make it. And then I don't. So I really want to do it this year. I've now had this yarn in stash for years, like with the Rowan yarn and the Art Yarns Silk and the Knit Picks Capria. It's just all stuff that has been in my stash forever. I want to knit the Cushing Isle sweater, which is a pattern by Amy Herzog. Here's what it looks like. And I want to make it out of this Madeline Tosh worsted, vintage, which is their worsted, in Spectrum. I wound the yarn over the summer last year and then never got it started. So I definitely want to get that one finished. This is one of the extra skeins I didn't wind, obviously. And then lastly, I want to finish my Pavement sweater, which is very wrinkly, and I don't know, about a third of the way done, because I still got to do the body and the sleeves. So yeah, I need to just sit down and finish this, or I need to frog it. I should actually put that, finish or frog my Pavement sweater, because I'm not really sure how much I love it. I've seen it knit by a lot of people, and they knit it out of indie dyed, like tonals and slightly variegated yarns, and it looks so good. And I did it out of this obvious solid, and I just don't like it as much. So we'll see. But I do definitely want to come to a decision with this sweater. And that is it for my bingo goals. So we'll see how that goes. I don't expect, I'm not putting pressure on myself to finish this. Even Erin says, she goes, I don't meet all of my goals every year, but it gives you kind of a direction, and you kind of, get an idea. I find that it helps that I have some ideas of things that I want to make, because even though I'm a mood knitter, if I don't have anything planned, then sometimes I will end up just floundering. So there you have it. Okay, so reading. Let's see. I am still listening to Heartless by Marissa Meyer. I'm about halfway through. I'm loving it a lot, but I haven't had a lot of reading time yet. But what's nice about it is, because I've already read this book, I know what's going to happen, so I'm not paying attention as closely to the story like I did the first time. I'm more paying attention to all the little quirks about it, and how close it is to Lewis Carroll's Alice's Adventures in Wonderland and Through the Looking Glass, and I'm loving it for that. So the second reading, I think I'm enjoying even more, because I'm able to really pay attention to all those little things. Then I am reading at bedtime Topics About Which I Know Nothing, which is by Patrick Ness. Now, I've read almost everything Patrick Ness has written now. He's one of my favorites. He wrote the Chaos Walking trilogy, which I read last year on audio and absolutely loved. And I have read, I don't know, like, what has he got, like three or four other books. The Rest of Us Just Live Here, The Crane Wife, More Than This, Monster Calls, are all other books that he's written that are more YA. Well, the Crane Wife is an adult book, but the other three are more YA geared. And I've read all of those and loved them as well, especially the Crane Wife. I absolutely adore the Crane Wife. This book is short stories, and I am just, they're kind of on the creepy side, kind of surreal, all of them, and they're so well written. I generally don't love short stories very much, but these are, he's just really ticking my boxes with these. Really loving it. So I have, I don't know, maybe 2 stories left, and I will be finishing that. I'm really enjoying it. I highly recommend it, especially if you like short stories. And then this is apparently the book that I'm picking up next, and I know that because Ron put it on my bedside table. Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep by Philip K. Dick. And I think it is not a short story collection, I think it's just a novella. But it is one that Ron likes, and he loves Philip K. Dick, and I think I've read other things by him, but it's been years and years and years, so I am going to be picking up. Oh, I didn't realize that's a face. Oh, wow. When you're close to it, you don't see it, but there's a face there. Anyway, so yes, I'm going to read Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep. I think he does like sci-fi stuff. And then after that, I am going to pick up Beneath the Sugar Sky by Seanan McGuire. This is the 3rd book in the Wayward Children series, which I'm in love with completely. The first 2 books are Every Heart a Doorway, and then Beneath the Sticks and Bones. Down Among the Sticks and Bones, sorry. So, Every Heart a Doorway is a story about, you know, those kids like Alice who fell through the rabbit hole into Wonderland, and the Darling children who soared to Neverland, and those kinds of kids who fell through some kind of weird wormhole and landed in a different world, spent some time there, and then had to come back home. And how they kind of deal with that. And the Home for Wayward Children is that place that they go because they can't, you know, assimilate back into regular society. And so this home is just a place for them, and they have all gone to different kinds of worlds. Some of them are terrible worlds, and some of them are wonderful worlds, and they're all trying to get back there. And so that's kind of the story that this one is about. And then Down Among the Sticks and Bones is the kind of a prequel of 2 of the characters in this book. And then Beneath the Sugar Sky is supposed to be kind of a prequel focusing on another one of the characters from this book. And so I'm hoping that Seanan McGuire is just going to continue this with all the characters. These are super quick reads. They're like 175, 180 pages each, and yet they are so magical. Her writing is so lyrical, and she just puts so much magic into it. So yeah, I really enjoy this series, and I recommend it. And Beneath the Sugar Sky, sorry, just came out this week. So I think I got it yesterday, and so I'm excited to read that. Okay, that is it for today, guys. I'm sure this is going to be plenty long. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your Wednesday. No Tuesday now. And I will talk to you guys later. Happy knitting.